Ethan was used to quiet jobs. He worked as a systems engineer for a neutral human diplomatic fleet. Most of the time, his work involved checking power cores, updating outdated software, and smiling politely at alien diplomats who didn't care about humans much. But on this day, something felt different. The station they had docked at was a massive ring floating in the edge of Thaleri territory. The Thaleri Empire wasn't hostile, but they weren't friendly either. They kept to themselves and followed strange customs. Humans usually stayed out of their way, but this time the station's energy flow was acting strange, and Ethan had been sent to fix it. He walked through the corridor holding his toolkit, humming softly to himself. Everything seemed normal until two tall alien guards stepped in front of him. Their armor was silver and sharp-edged, and their faces were hidden behind smooth helmets. Engineer Ethan Carter. One of them asked, in a deep voice. Ethan blinked. Yes, you are to come with us. By order of the Queen, the Queen? Ethan repeated, confused. What Queen? The Queen of the Thaleri. She requests your presence. Before Ethan could argue or ask why, they turned and began walking. Unsure what was going on, he followed. His communicator didn't work. Inside the heavily shielded station, and the guards didn't seem like they were. In the mood to answer questions, they led him to a tall golden door with swirling patterns across it. The doors opened without sound. Inside the room was large and filled with soft blue light. Standing on a raised platform was the Queen of the Thaleri herself. She was tall, graceful, and wore a long flowing robe that shimmered like water. Her skin was smooth and silver blue, and her eyes glowed like small stars. The room fell silent. As Ethan stepped in, he felt small and out of place. The Queen stared at him for a moment. Then she spoke. You are human. Yes, that's me. Ethan, he said, nervously rubbing the back of his neck. The Queen tilted her head slightly. My daughter needs you. Ethan froze. Excuse me? He said slowly, thinking he must have heard wrong. My daughter, the Queen said again, her voice calm but firm. She is fading, and you may be the only one who can reach her. Ethan's brain tried to keep up. I don't understand. I'm just an engineer. I don't know medicine. I've never met your daughter, not as you are now, the Queen said. But once, years ago, your presence marked her soul. Ethan looked completely lost. What? How? I've never been to your empire before. The Queen raised her hand, and a small silver orb floated down from above. It hovered in front of Ethan and played a holographic image. It showed a younger version of him, about 15 years old, standing in a large garden with bright red trees. Beside him was a small Thaleri girl with glowing eyes. She was smiling and handing him a glowing crystal. Ethan's mouth dropped open, that was. On a peace trip, he said slowly. I was just a kid. I was there with my mom. And she was a diplomat, I remember. That girl. She gave me that crystal. To give such a gift, the Queen said, is sacred in our culture. It forms a connection. We did not know what would come of it. But she held on to it. The bond grew strong, too strong. Ethan stared at the image, but I never saw her again. And she waited, the Queen said. And as the years passed, she grew silent. Her body lives, but her mind drifts. The crystal still glows, linked to you. It reacts to your presence even now. Ethan looked down. The orb floated closer, and the crystal inside pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. What do you want me to do? Ethan asked softly. Come with us, the Queen said. Speak to her, reach her, help her return. What? If I can't, you must try, she said, or she may not survive. The next thing Ethan knew, he was on a royal Thaleri ship. The inside was beautiful soft curves, glowing lights, and a quiet hum that made everything feel peaceful. But his mind wasn't calm. Why him? What was this strange bond? And what if he failed? A Thaleri scientist explained more as they traveled. The connection between Ethan and the princess wasn't physical, it was spiritual and neural. The crystal had created a two-way link. When the bond grew too intense and no contact came, the princess's mind turned inward, building a dream world from memories and hope. Now she was lost inside it. If no one entered her mental space and helped her return, she might never wake up. Ethan sat in a quiet room, staring at the small crystal in his hand. He could feel warmth from it, like it remembered him.
Ow.
Flashes of the alien girl's smile came back to him. She had been kind and curious, and he had thought of her sometimes over the years, but never thought she would remember him too now. Her life depended on him. They finally arrived at the royal homeworld. The sky was soft purple and floating. Towers shimmered above calm lakes. The princess was kept in a private chamber within the crystal temple. No one but the queen and the healers had seen her in years. As Ethan walked through the grand hall, the Larry guards and advisors looked at him with mixed emotions, some with hope, others with doubt. To them, he was just a human boy who had accidentally taken part in something sacred. He entered the chamber. There, on a glowing platform surrounded by floating crystals, was the princess. She looked peaceful, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Skin was pale silver, and her long white hair floated slightly in the energy field. She hadn't moved in years. Ethan stood beside her, unsure what to feel. The queen stepped beside him. "You may be the key to her return." "What do I have to do?" "Enter the crystal mind," the queen said. "A chamber is ready. Your thoughts will meet hers, but you must be careful. Her dream may not welcome you. You fail, your mind may also be lost." Ethan took a deep breath. "I'll do it," he said. And so, as the stars turned overhead, Ethan stepped into the chamber. Ethan stepped into the unknown world inside the mind of a sleeping alien princess. Ethan lay still inside the crystal chamber. Strange lights floated around him as the neural connection began. The Lari machines hummed softly, adjusting frequencies to match his mind with the princess's. The scientists and healers stood behind a transparent wall, watching closely. The queen stood beside them, her face calm but her eyes full of hidden worry. No one had entered the princess's mind before. If the human failed, they would lose both him and their daughter forever. Ethan felt a soft pull, like falling without fear. The world around him faded, and a new one began to form. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in a place that didn't feel real. It was a floating island in a sky filled with purple clouds and two suns. Glowing rivers flowed through the air, and trees sparkled with blue leaves. The wind didn't blow, but the air felt alive. He looked down at himself. He was the same, still wearing his engineer uniform, but everything around him looked like something out of a dream. He called out, his voice echoing strangely. There was no answer. Ethan began walking, following a path made of shining stones. As he walked, he noticed statues, beautiful carvings of the princess at different ages. In one, she was holding the crystal. In another, she was watching the stars. He realized this wasn't just a dream world. It was built from her memories. "Where are you?" Ethan said softly. He passed a garden that looked familiar. Then it hit him. This was the place they met all those years ago. The red trees, the stone bench, even the little flowers she had given him. Everything was exactly the same. Suddenly he heard footsteps. Turning around, he saw a young Thaleri. Girl standing behind him. She looked like the princess in the memory. Her eyes were bright, her expression curious and shy. "You came back," she said softly. Ethan's heart jumped. "Is that really you?" She nodded slowly. "I waited. But you didn't return." Ethan took a step forward. "I didn't know. I was just a kid. I didn't know what the crystal meant." "It meant everything," she said, her voice small. "I thought you would come back soon, but you didn't, and my world changed." The sky above them grew darker for a moment. A shadow passed over the land. The trees stopped glowing, and the rivers dimmed. Ethan looked around. "What's happening?" "The memory turned into fear," she said. "Others said you forgot, that you never cared, that I was weak." "No," Ethan said quickly. "That's not true. I never forgot you. I remembered your gift. I just didn't know what it meant to you." The ground shook slightly. The princess looked scared. "It's coming again," she whispered. "What is?" "The shadow." Ethan didn't understand at first, till a dark shape rose over the mountains ahead. It looked like a giant made of smoke and claws. It had no face, but it gave off a strong feeling of fear and pain. "We need to go," she said. Ethan took her hand. "Come with me." Damn. They ran together, moving toward a tower that appeared in the distance. The dream world shifted around them, as if trying to stop them. The path broke, and they had to jump across floating pieces of land. Sharp winds howled from the sides. Ethan didn't let go of her hand. He knew this was her fear, her sadness, her belief that he had abandoned her. He needed to prove that he was real, and that he was here now. They reached the base of the tower. Inside, it was quiet and safe. The walls were made of smooth glass, showing stars all around them. The princess sat down on a soft chair, breathing hard. "Why did you come back?" she asked. "Because you matter," Ethan said. "Because you called for help, and I want to help." "You said you wouldn't come. You said you were just a human." Ethan sat across from her. "Maybe I am just a human. But I made a promise, even if I didn't know it, and I won't break it." As she looked at him, her eyes softened. For the first time, she smiled. The shadow didn't come closer this time. It hovered far away, unsure. "Your mind is beautiful," Ethan said, looking around. "You created this world from memory and dreams, but you can't stay trapped here. Your body is waiting. Your mother is waiting." "I'm afraid," she whispered. "What if the real world doesn't want me anymore?" "Then we'll face it together," Ethan said. "You're not alone." The tower began to glow brighter. The darkness outside faded slowly. The dream world seemed to calm. The bond between their minds grew stronger, but then something unexpected happened. The tower started shaking violently. The glass walls cracked, and a loud sound filled the air. Ethan stood quickly. "What's happening?" he shouted. The princess looked terrified. "Someone is trying to break the link from outside." In the real world, the healers saw a sudden spike in energy. The chamber lights blinked rapidly when the machines began to smoke. "Stabilize it." "At!" one of the scientists yelled, but it was too late. A jolt passed through the neural link. Ethan felt it like a bolt of lightning in his mind. The dream world cracked. The princess screamed, and the sky split open. "Ethan," she cried. He reached for her, trying to hold on as the ground crumbled beneath them. The link was falling apart. "Don't let go," he shouted. Their hands met again, just as the light consumed them both. Ethan gasped as his eyes opened in the real world. He was back in the crystal chamber, lying on the platform. Pain shot through his head, but he was alive. The queen and the healers rushed in. The queen knelt beside him. "Is she?" Ethan tried to speak, but before anyone could answer, another platform in the next chamber lit up. The princess, still silent for years, opened her eyes. The room fell silent when the princess opened her eyes. Her soft silver skin shimmered under the crystal light, and her glowing blue eyes slowly looked around the chamber. The healers froze in shock. Some stared in disbelief, while others whispered among themselves. She had not moved or spoken in years. And now she was awake. Ethan, still lying on the next platform, blinked through the pain. He tried to sit up, but a healer gently held him down. "Rest, human," the healer said softly. "You are weak. The link drained much of your energy." Ethan ignored the pain and looked across the chamber. The princess was now sitting up. Her white hair floated around her, and she looked dazed but calm. Then her eyes met Ethan's. For a moment, neither of them spoke, but something passed between them like an echo of the bond they had just shared in her mind. The dream may have broken, but the connection remained. The queen entered the chamber and dropped to one knee beside her daughter. She touched the princess's hand gently, and a soft sound of relief escaped her lips. "You've returned," the queen whispered. The princess nodded slowly. "Mother, I was lost. But now you are found," the queen said. "And the one who brought you back is here." Princess turned her gaze back to Ethan. "He remembered me," she said quietly. Ethan gave a tired smile. "How could I forget?" After a few hours of rest, Ethan was moved to a peaceful recovery room within the palace. It overlooked the crystal lake, where gentle waves shimmered. Under the planet's twin moons, Thallery technology worked quickly to repair his neural fatigue, but he was still exhausted. The princess came to visit him the next day. She walked slowly, still adjusting to being awake again. Her presence filled the room with soft light. She sat beside his bed without saying anything at first. Ethan smiled at her. "How do you feel?" "Like I've woken from a very long dream." She replied, "My body is weak, but my mind feels lighter. Thank you for finding me." "You found me too," Ethan said. "Inside your dream, you pulled me in as much as I reached out." She looked at him with quiet curiosity. "Why did you stay?" "When the shadow came. When the world started falling apart, you didn't leave, because you were alone," Ethan said. "And I didn't want you to be." The princess looked away, blinking quickly. "You kept your promise, even if you didn't know you made." "One," Ethan nodded. "I remember the crystal now. I remember the garden. I remember you." They sat quietly, watching the lake for a while. Outside the room, the palace was filled with whispers. News of the princess's awakening had spread across the empire. Hope was returning to the people. But not everyone was happy. Far across the city, in a cold stone chamber beneath the palace, voices argued in secret. "This is dangerous," a tall Thallery noble said. "She wakes, and suddenly humans are welcome in our sacred halls." "The queen is letting emotion cloud her judgment," another replied. The princess was quiet and easy to control. Now she returned stronger and bonded to an outsider. "Must act," said a third voice. "Before the bond reshapes the empire, they didn't speak of open war. Not yet. But they agreed on one thing. They had to stop the human before he changed everything." Meanwhile, the queen invited Ethan to join a private gathering with her daughter. The meeting took place in the Stardome, a high room with a clear ceiling. Showing the stars above, the room glowed with calm colors. In the walls showed moving images of Thallery history. "You are part of our story now," the queen said, "and that carries both honor and danger." Ethan listened carefully. "Your bond with my daughter saved her," the queen continued. "But there are those who fear what you represent. They believe you will bring change. They fear change." "Not here to take anything," Ethan said. "I just wanted to help." "Which is why you are more dangerous than they realize," the queen said gently. "You helped not for power, but from care. That makes you powerful." The princess reached across the table and placed her hand over Ethan's. "They want to silence that kind of power." Ethan looked between the two. "What do we do?" "You must leave the palace soon," the queen said. "Not in exile, but in safety. There are places where my daughter can continue to heal and where you can remain safe. We will send loyal guardians with you." Ethan hesitated. "You want me to go?" the queen said, "and to be free from shadows." The next morning, just before dawn, Ethan and the princess prepared to leave. A sleek ship was readied in secret. Only a few trusted guards and royal pilots knew the plan. As they moved toward the landing pad, the princess carried a small box. She handed it to Ethan. "What is it?" he asked. "The original crystal," she said. "The one I gave you as a child. Kept it all these years." Ethan opened the box. Inside was the glowing stone, now brighter than ever. It pulsed with soft blue light. "I thought it was lost," Ethan said. "Never." She whispered. They boarded the ship, and the engines began to hum. From the palace tower, the queen watched silently, her hands clasped in front of her. Just as the ship lifted off, a sudden blast rocked the landing pad. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the sky. "Incoming fire," the pilot shouted. "Enemy drones. Protect the vessel," a guard yelled. Ethan grabbed the princess's hand and pulled her behind him. The ship shook as another blast hit the shield. "We've been betrayed," the princess said quietly. "Then we fight together," Ethan replied. The ship rocked again as enemy drones struck its shields. The guards on board quickly moved to defense positions, activating energy barriers and redirecting power to the engines. Lights flickered. The sound of metal grinding echoed through the hall. Ethan pulled the princess down into the ship's inner corridor, holding her hand tightly. Behind them, the ship's pilot shouted orders. "They're trying to disable the engine. Keep us in the air," shouted a guard. "Can't. Go back now." The princess looked at Ethan, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "This wasn't just about fear. Someone wanted me gone." Ethan nodded. "They didn't expect you to wake up. Now they're afraid of what I might say, what we might do." Outside, small fighter drones fired red pulses toward the fleeing ship. The royal ship's defense turrets answered with blasts of blue energy, cutting down several attackers. Still more drones came from the city's shadows. The attackers were not part of the Queen's official military. They were rogue. Someone had paid them, someone powerful. "Get us to open skies," the lead guard yelled. "Once we reach orbit," we jumped to safety. The ship climbed higher, pushing through the clouds, fire trailing behind it. Inside, the princess sat beside Ethan in the safe chamber. Ethan breathed deeply, watching the glowing crystal in his hand. "Why are they so scared of this?" he asked quietly. "We didn't do anything wrong." The princess looked ahead. They feared that love or kindness might change the empire more than war ever did. Finally, the ship broke through the upper sky and reached orbit. The stars stretched wide, and the curve of the planet faded behind them. The moment they cleared the gravity field, the pilot activated the jump drive. A blinding light surrounded the vessel, and with a soft crackle, they vanished from that system. They reappeared minutes later in deep space far from Thalari territory. The nearest station was neutral, small, and quiet. It floated near an ice moon, untouched by politics or war. "We'll stay here for now," the princess said. "No one can reach us easily." Ethan looked out the window. "What now?" "We begin again," she said. Days passed. The station was peaceful. The crew gave them privacy. The princess started walking the halls again, her body growing stronger. Each day, Ethan fixed small systems around the station. It helped keep his hands busy. He often caught the princess watching him as he worked. She would smile, sometimes only for a second. One evening, he sat by the viewing window, watching comets pass in the distance. "I remember this," the princess said softly. "What?" Ethan asked. "When we were children?" "I dreamed of you in the stars. I always thought you'd come back one day." Ethan turned toward her. "Never knew you felt that way." "I was just a boy, I didn't understand." "You do now?" she said. Ethan nodded. "Yes, I do." She leaned her head on his shoulder. The crystal between them pulsed with soft light, beating like a quiet heart, but peace didn't last long. On the third day, a merchant ship arrived at the station. It came for supplies and repairs, but with it came news. The Queen had vanished. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked the station commander. "I mean exactly that," the old man replied. "The Queen hasn't been seen in days. Her personal guards are missing. Rumors say she's been taken. Others say she went into hiding. Either way, the palace is silent." The princess was silent for a long time after hearing the news. Then she stood, her voice clear and strong. "We have to go back." "Back," Ethan said, shocked. "But it's not safe. If my mother is gone, then the empire will fall into chaos. Those who attacked us will take control. The people will be lied to. I have to stop them. You'll be walking into danger," Ethan said. "They tried to destroy us." "Yes," she said, "and they'll try again. But if we do nothing, they win." Ethan sighed. "You're serious about this?" "I won't let them destroy everything," she said. "I won't let fear rule my people." Ethan looked at her for a moment. Then he smiled. "Then let's do this right. They didn't go back alone." The station commander called in favors. A few loyal ships from old peace missions agreed to escort them. Small fleet gathered half human, half Thalari sympathizers who believed in the princess's message. Ethan helped plan the course. The princess gave short messages to each captain. She didn't speak like a child anymore. She spoke like a leader. As their fleet flew through dark space, Ethan sat beside her on the command deck. "You've changed," he said. "Maybe I've become who I was always meant to be," she replied. "And what am I?" Ethan asked, half joking. She looked at him. "You are my balance, my light when my mind turned dark. You are not just a part of my past. You are part of what's to come." He looked away, smiling softly. "You still have the crystal?" I asked. He pulled it from his pocket. "Always." "Good," she said. "It's brought us together. It will guide us home." As the stars rushed past their ship, the fleet headed back toward a broken palace, a hidden queen, and an empire on the edge of war. They were not heroes. Not yet, but they were ready. The stars above the Thaleri homeworld looked peaceful, but the space around it was anything but calm. Sensor screens blinked red. Several unknown ships hovered near the edge of the upper atmosphere. The skies were being watched. Ethan stood at the command window, looking at the glowing planet below. Beside him, the princess adjusted the long silver sash around her robes. She had changed. No longer weak and afraid, she now looked like a leader. But Ethan could still see the worry in her eyes. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Asked. "I have to be," she said. "If I don't face them now, they'll control everything. They'll erase my mother's name. They'll say I never woke up. They'll turn the people against the truth." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's give them a truth they can't ignore." Their small fleet moved in formation, staying just outside the defense range of the Empire's capital. The princess sent a clear and public signal, no hidden message, no secret code. She spoke into the calm with calm strength, her voice reaching every major relay station and ship. "This is Princess Alira of the Thaleri. I've returned. I live, and I speak not just for the royal bloodline, but for the truth. My mother, the queen, is missing. Those who swore loyalty to her have vanished. The palace is in the hands of traitors. But we will not kneel to lies." For a few moments, nothing happened. Then a message came back. "Your words mean nothing, princess," a deep voice said. "You are not the leader here. We welcome you only to surrender." Alira stood tall. "Then you leave me no choice. I will come down to the surface myself. We'll see if the people still listen." The royal landing field was quiet when their shuttle arrived. Only a few guards were waiting. They stood in a line, not raising weapons, but not welcoming either. Behind them, the tall spires of the palace reached toward the sky, lit by dim blue lights. Alira walked ahead, her steps slow and steady. Ethan stayed beside her, keeping one hand near his sidearm, not for attack, but for protection. The guards watched in silence as the princess passed. A voice called out from the shadows. A tall Thaleri figure stepped forward, dressed in black armor with a high collar. His eyes glowed faint red. "Princess Alira," he said, "we thought you were still lost." "You tried to keep me lost," she replied. "You wanted me silent. But I remember now." "You remember a dream," the man said. "We live in the real world. And in the real world, the Empire needs control." "The Empire needs hope," Alira said firmly, "and you've crushed it." "Where's my mother?" "She has been removed," the man replied without emotion. "She was weak. You're strong. Strength will lead us forward." Alira took a deep breath. "No. Kindness leads us forward. Understanding, unity, truce, those are our real strengths. Not fear, not silence." A small crowd began to gather. Servants, engineers, even a few younger. Guards all stood near the edge of the field, watching the return of their princess. Whispers started spreading. The man noticed the shifting eyes around him. "You cannot lead them," he said coldly. "They will not follow a dreamer." "Then let me speak to them," Alira said. "Revaches you after hearing me, I will." "Walk away." He didn't answer. Silence stretched. Finally, he turned and walked back into the palace. A day later, the great gathering hall opened for the first time in weeks. Lights were restored. Seats filled with citizens, scholars, workers, and low-ranking nobles. The hall was quiet, but tension filled the air. Alira stood on the central platform. Beside her was Ethan, wearing the simple uniform of a human engineer. He felt strange standing there, but Alira had insisted. "They must see you," she had said. They must know you're not a threat. You're proof of peace. She stepped forward and spoke clearly, her voice echoing. You know who I am. You saw me grow up. You watched me smile at the stars. And then I vanished. They said I was lost. But the truth is, they wanted me silent. Gasps moved through the crowd. I was lost in a dream, she said, but I was not alone. A bond saved me, a bond I made as a child. A bond with a human. Yes, him. She gestured to Ethan. He came when no one else could. Not for power. Not for gain. It's just to keep a promise I didn't even realize I still held. Ethan felt eyes on him, but he didn't look away. And I came back stronger, Alira said. Because of him. Because of us. This isn't about bloodlines. It's about truth. And I ask you, will you let fear control our empire? The silence that followed was long. Then slowly, someone in the back stood. A young Thaleri woman raised her arm. I believe her. Others rose, one by one. Some in uniform, some in robes. Some with tools still hanging from belts. We believe. Her, the hall filled with voices. The wave spread beyond the palace. Messages traveled across the empire. More systems declared support. Old allies returned. The traitors were not arrested at once, but they felt the shift. Power had begun to move back toward the people, toward the princess. Later that night, Alira and Ethan stood in the palace garden. The red trees glowed under moonlight. It was the same garden where they had first met as children. I never thought I'd return here, Ethan said quietly. And I never thought you would still matter so much. Alira replied. He smiled. So what happens now? We rebuild, she said. Together. If the people want me to lead, I will. Not alone, but with voices from all walks of life, human and Thalaria alike. She looked at him. Double quotes. Stayed up quotes. Ethan didn't need to think. I'm not going anywhere. The crystal pulsed between them once more. A new dawn broke over the Thaleri capital. For the first time in many years, peace didn't feel like a distant hope. The streets were busy again, not with soldiers, but with workers, traders, and families. The old fear that once wrapped around the empire was slowly melting away, replaced with a quiet but growing trust. Princess Alira now walked through the palace halls, not as a forgotten royal, but as a leader. She no longer hid her voice. She spoke with strength, guided by the pain she had once carried on, the healing that followed. By her side, Ethan helped where he could. He wasn't a diplomat or a noble, but he was steady, honest, and unafraid to speak plainly. People respected him not because he had saved Alira, but because he remained kind when others chose silence. Together they brought change. Alira formed a new council. It's not made of the highest nobles, but chosen from across the Thaleri society. Builders, artists, scientists, warriors, even youth voices were included. The goal was simple. No more power in secret shadows. Decisions would now have light. Some nobles resisted. They held old beliefs tightly. But each time they tried to push back, the people stood beside Alira. And when that happened, the nobles backed away. Still, one question remained: where was the queen? Days turned into weeks. The palace guards searched. Loyal captains followed every clue. Finally, a signal was found, an old tracking device hidden in the queen's ceremonial robe had activated deep in the outer forests, Alira insisted. On going herself, Ethan and a team of trusted guards joined her. They took a quiet ship, landing outside the ruins of a forgotten temple. Nature had almost taken it back. Trees, vines, and flowers covered the old stones. Inside, the air was cool and still. No danger then. The voice echoed from within the temple. Alira rushed forward. There, standing near a beam of soft sunlight, was her mother, the queen. She looked tired, thinner, her robe dusty, but her eyes were sharp and her voice steady. Mother Alira whispered. You're alive, they embraced. Long, quiet hug between mother and daughter. Why did you leave? Alira asked. To protect you, the queen said. The moment you woke, they feared you. They knew I would never let them hurt you. They set a trap. I escaped before they could use me as a shield against you. Alira looked at her mother with deep understanding. You taught me strength, even when you weren't near. The queen smiled, and you used it well. Ethan stepped forward and gave a small wave. The queen's gaze softened. You are the one who brought her back, she said. Yes, ma'am, Ethan said, smiling awkwardly. Thank you, she said simply. You gave me my daughter again. Queen returned quietly to the capital. She didn't reclaim her throne, she didn't need to. The people had chosen Alira. Instead, she became her daughter's advisor, and a quiet guardian of the new council. Many were surprised, but few protested. Time moved forward. The Thaleri Empire began to change in ways no one had expected. For the first time, humans were welcomed not as guests, but as equals. Embassies opened. Students exchanged. Teams of Thaleri and humans worked together on science, art, and space travel. Alira stood at the center of it all. She wasn't just a princess now. She was a symbol of recovery, unity, and a future that didn't rely on fear, and beside her always was Ethan. One evening, as the twin moons hung low over the crystal lake, Ethan sat with Alira on the palace balcony. They shared a quiet meal, watching the lights of the city below. Children's laughter echoed from the gardens. Birds flew in slow circles above the towers. Alira looked at him and asked, Do you ever miss your old job? Ethan smiled. You mean fixing broken reactors and checking wiring systems? She laughed softly. Yes. Sometimes, he said. It was quiet. Simple. But now, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Alira turned toward him. So do I. A soft breeze passed between them. She reached into her sash and pulled out the glowing crystal, the same one she had given him long ago. She handed it back to him. This belongs to you again. Ethan looked at it for a long time. It brought us together. It still connects us, she said. He held it gently in his hand. I don't want to lose it again. You won't, she said. Not while we walk together. The next morning, a new statue was unveiled in the palace garden. It showed a young alien girl giving a glowing crystal to a boy, both of them standing beneath a tree with red leaves. On the statue's base were words written in Thaleri and English. A bond formed in innocence, saved a life and changed a world. And beneath that, never doubt the power of a promise kept. Peace continued. It was not perfect. There were challenges, arguments, and setbacks. But the people faced them together. The past would never be forgotten, but it no longer ruled the future. The princess, who had once been lost in a dream, became a guiding light. And the human, who once walked alone with a toolbox, found his purpose not in machines, but in hearts together. They shaped something new, something better, something lasting.